Okay, 11.2, collecting data. And 11.1, we looked at various factors that could influence the collection of data, and then in 11.2, we'll actually look at how to collect the data. So we'll first look at the difference between populations and samples. So population is the total amount of people you're looking at. It actually doesn't always necessarily have to be people. It might be actually a product, as we'll look at in some of the examples, whereas a sample is just a small portion of that whole entire population. So sometimes it doesn't make sense to ask every single person in your population. It makes more sense to take a sample, and so that's primarily what we look at throughout this whole section is various different types of samples. Okay, so the different types of samples. Then we'll also look at justify whether we should use the whole population or find a sample. So depending on the situation, you could go one way or the other. And then finally determine whether the results from a sample can actually be applied to a population. So we'll look at a few of those things in this section. Okay, so different types of samples, they're all listed here. You can read them. I'll just kind of give an example of each. There's kind of these, I guess there's three main ones, but random samples are split into two. We'll talk about kind of the difference between those ones. So first one there is a convenience sample. It's created by choosing individuals from the population who are easy to access. So usually you're not doing a whole lot of work for convenience samples. If I stand outside my classroom and interview people as they walk through the halls, right? Or it's the same in front of a store, right? If you go out your store and you just literally plop down, get people as they come in or out of the store, right? That's convenient. You're not going anywhere. You're just, the people are coming to you, and that's the key in a convenience sample. Okay, random sample, most samples are random, even a convenience sample is just random who comes. But a random sample is created by choosing a specific number of individuals from the whole population. Random means that each individual has an equal chance of being chosen, so you're not giving preference to any certain group. And so there's two main ones, stratified samples and systematic samples. So two main ways we can go about this. Stratified sample, created by dividing the whole population into distinct groups and then choosing the same fraction of members from each group. So a stratified sample could be something like, if I asked all the grade 9s and I wanted to know what the boys think and the girls think. So I might say I'm going to pick 3 girls, 3 boys. So I'm taking the groups, splitting them into groups, and then asking a certain amount. I might want people who live in town versus people who live in the country. Then I'm going to make sure I ask people from the country versus people from the town. Anytime you're dividing the group into certain groups and making sure you cover different portions of the population, it's going to be stratified. Okay? Systematic, a sample created by choosing individuals at fixed intervals from an ordered list. Systematic list, coming from a list. So just opening up the church directory and just calling every 5th name or something like that, that would be systematic. If you have a whole list of students and you just pick every other one, systematic, because you're picking it off of a list of people, so it's random in that way. Okay, both of these are random. The last one is a voluntary response sample. Now, technically everything can be voluntary, because anytime somebody asks you for your input on a sample, you can choose to volunteer or not. So any of them is technically voluntary, but voluntary just means you're giving everyone the opportunity and you invite them for participation. So an example might be when the church asks for it, can we get names for elders and deacons? They open that up to everyone. If you're 8 years old, you can put a letter in with your names for elders and deacons. It's inviting the whole population. Unfortunately, they usually get very, very few actually opt to participate in that. So it's voluntary. Usually this is like something where you email something out. So you email everyone, please respond if you feel like it. Or mailing out surveys, if you want to take it and respond, you can. So it's completely voluntary, but it gives everyone the same chance of participating. Okay, example 1. We'll jump right in here, identifying the population. So identify the population, then state whether you would survey the population or the sample. Okay, so in each situation, the population doesn't mean like the population of the world or Canada or Alberta or even Barrhead or Neerlandia, but it just means in your situation, what is the total population of people you're looking for? So a bike store owner wants to know the brand of mountain bike that their customers prefer. And so in that case, the population is not necessarily all bike owners or all people who ride bikes, but it's only her customers, right? So the population would be her customers who bought bikes. That'd be kind of like your main population, because she wants to know which ones they prefer. So she doesn't care about somebody in a neighboring city who buys a bike. She wants to know the people she sold bikes to. So that's the overall population. Typically, when you're answering this question, whether you would survey the population or a sample, you're kind of looking at the size. So typically, with a store owner, it would be pretty difficult to find all the people who you've sold bikes to. But if you're really small, maybe you could. But in general, I would say you probably have to just find a sample of those people, because you're probably gonna have a tough time tracking every single customer down. Okay, so it's all about size and how easy it is to actually track down the whole population and whether it's worth it. So here I would probably say sample. School board wants to know how many hours of homework students do each day. Well, again, depending on the size of your school, most schools you would have no problem doing the whole population. The whole population would be students in the school, not in a different school, because it's the school board. They want to know the people inside that school. So it wouldn't be hard to do the whole population then, right? You've got everybody in the same building, you could survey them. Okay, so population wouldn't be outrageous to track down the whole population in that case. Okay, C, a candle manufacturer wants to know how many of its candles are made with flaws. So again, we don't really know. You kind of do need a little bit more information on how big of a manufacturer they are. I'm thinking kind of like an assembly line that's spitting out candles. Then you'd say, well, yeah, you're probably not going to test every single candle. You're probably going to pick every 10th one or 100th one or whatever that comes off the assembly line. Is it good? Yes or no? Sample a few. But if you were a small time manufacturer and you did it for fun once in a while, you might have every single one of the candles you made, and you're going to check them all and make sure they're good. Right? So it's kind of tied to how big and how easy it would be to actually